kind of came in with this mindset. The staff took a little while to get on board with that. And then I started dismissing these patients that they like hated seeing every week. And they're like, wow, I don't have to see that patient again. Nice.
This is Dr. Besmer with the Educated Associate Podcast, and this is part 2 of our interview with Dr. Mark Pugliese, a young practice owner and someone I'm very lucky to call a friend of mine. We're going to get much more into the practice that Mark acquired, Wall Street Dental Group in Concord, New Hampshire, and pretty much how he got it up and running. He took it over from a dentist who had been in the practice for 30, 40 years. It's exactly what you think, slow, outdated, just different standards of care, and how Mark got the staff to believe in him. And then after that, we get a little more existential. We take a step back and we think about dentistry over a lifelong period, not just producing that day, because it is stressful. Mark talks a lot about finding joy in your career, in your life. So if you want to have a less stressful and more profitable practice ownership timeline, enjoy the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I am seeing that I would love to change in the current office that I'm at is just the whole treatment plan, case acceptance workflow. I have found that a lot of times I will treatment plan, I'll get a clinical yes. And from what I've seen, I've essentially divided the treatment plan into a clinical and a financial yes, right? And I'm not just saying like, oh yeah, doc, I'll do it. Like, kind of like you said, you explain why, you understand their concern. And they're like, oh my God, I need to take care of this. And then they say yes. And then suddenly they get to the front and then they walk out the door. And I see that either nothing was treatment plan. I ask the front what happened. Oh, I can't afford it. Oh, X and Y. And so I have found that if they get to the front desk without signing the treatment plan, that leads to a much lower conversion rate. It sounds a little different for you, but do you just kind of mind walking through your flow of kind of that whole case acceptance process? And if you can, divide it into larger or more phased treatment plans where maybe it's an established patient, they come in for a hygiene and you see a few things or a new patient versus your same day treatment patient. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess first I should say this is one thing I took from Aspen that I forgot to mention earlier. They're really big on what they call the new patient experience. And your first, I don't know if they still do this, but when I was there at 3 months in and at 6 months in, you have to go to their like Aspen headquarters, and you spend most of that like 1 week at their Aspen headquarters just doing role playing of new patient experiences, and learning how to talk to the patient, learning how to present your treatment plan. That's probably actually the most valuable thing I got at Aspen. Just that treatment plan communication, and learning how to create that very custom treatment plan to a patient. New patient experience, quick, big picture. First thing I'm doing when I walk into their room, I don't even talk dentistry. I just kind of try to get to know the person. If they've got a jersey on, I try to comment on that team, ask them some questions about it. I'll ask them if they moved to the area or like, why are they switching dentists, things like that. Just kind of getting to know them, getting to know what's their chief complaint, what are they looking for, do they have any dental concerns with their mouth. If you talk to them long enough, somebody that said, oh no, I'm just looking for a checkup, might actually bring up, something as simple as, oh, I want whitening, or, I have been thinking about ortho or veneers or something like this. Getting to see what they're looking for is important. And also if they truly are just looking for a cleaning and you come at them with, hey, let's do whitening, veneers, and ortho, you're going to turn that patient off too. So getting to know the patient, really important. What are they looking for? In the treatment plan, when I'm looking in their mouth, I'm really big on intraoral photos. One of the first things that I did to modernize was I bought a cheap mouthwash intraoral camera for every hygiene room. Best thing in the world. I put one in every operatory in my office. And the second I see fracture lines, or if I see shadowing that indicates a carie, I'm trying to take a photo of it, because you all know that when you're pointing to things on the screen in an x-ray, it's in one ear and out the other. If you can show it in a photo, the patient sees it. So fracture lines are a big thing. I take a photo of that. I explain, hey, this tooth, it has some fracture lines. It's a gamble. It might break in 10 years. You might go home and break it tonight. My advice, try to do it on your terms, because often when it does break, it breaks at a really bad time, like the night before Christmas or the night before a wedding. And then I'll go into the whole spiel of, the cost and whatnot. And I try not to hit on it too much, unless the patient has concerns about the cost. But I will at least mention that speech that I did before. I'm also big on trying to stage the treatment and explain the stages to the patient. Like, hey, you have 10 teeth with fracture lines. Let's try to attack the ones that look the worst right now. And I'll do like the bite testing. If anything shows up symptomatic, I'll explain that too. But just really trying to break it down into stages, because man, if I had to pay for 10 crowns right now, that'd be tough, let alone somebody that works, at McDonald's or something. You got to find a way to break it down for them and make it affordable for them.
No offense. That is a very important job in this society.
Yeah, I agree, but it's not getting paid great,
Right.
No shade on anyone that's just trying to make a living, but not everyone has the income that they can afford to do full mouth rehab right away. And I try to be sensitive to that.
In terms of, case acceptance and all of that, what I'm seeing in my office is just staff morale. You saw it at Aspen, and I wanted to ask you something about that. But generally, um, you know, you say something, and maybe in your area, the doctors have a little trust, a little more trust. I find that in my area, it's a little more skeptical. And I understand that, right? I'm not expecting them to say yes to me. I'm expecting them to say yes to the office, the assistant, the hygienist, as well as me, right? Kind of all around. What have your biggest challenges and breakthroughs been in terms of, like you said, managing the staff, making sure the way I always explain it is I don't know of a single person, and there might be someone out there that grew up dreaming to be a dental assistant, right? A patient coordinator, all that fun stuff. They also get paid pennies. I mean, I personally, the dental assistants, I think it's heinous crime. Um, but I understand the logistics of overhead and staff costs that, like, you can't pay every assistant $100 an hour because it's just not feasible in the current dental financial model. But, at least where I'm at, they're getting paid anywhere between $20 to $25 an hour, maybe more for a lead assistant. But they are as integral, right, to the patient saying yes and having a great experience. So hopefully one day when I own an office, I just want to make it feel like, obviously financially, bonuses, all that fun stuff, but just emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like coming in and I'm not going to say love your job, but feel meaningful, feeling like you matter, right? Like when they see Dr. Mark, they want to be like, wow, this is going to be a great day. We've got 75 patients on the schedule, 13 emergencies. He's doing a full arch, in the morning and seeing all these patients, and we're going to make it happen. And every patient's going to get that A1 experience, that Dr. Mark experience. So what has been, again, like I said, the biggest struggles and breakthroughs in terms of culture?
Sure. I'm over here laughing. I just realized I've been playing with this like desk cleaner. If it's making some weird noises on the mic, I apologize.
And on
But
my end
anyway.
too, if you guys see me looking away, I got the 1 month old with me, so I'm not
Oh.
disengaged. I'm rocking him with my foot and trying to keep him down. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But all right, I'm gonna reference this book. I haven't read it in like 2 years. Best book I think that you can possibly read over anything
Is it
clinical.
Raving Fans?
No, I don't know that one. I'll check it out.
Strike 4.
Yeah, I know.
No, and it's so overplayed. I think most people listening have probably already heard this recommendation, but How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, it's so, I read that book. I tried to kind of just write down a few big points and revisit it every few months after I first read it. I think I had the advantage of being involved in a lot of like the student org stuff with the fraternity. I was president of my fraternity in undergrad, between that as well as through ASDA, where I kind of joked, if you can learn to motivate people with no financial incentive, who are
Right.
busy as hell, then motivating people when you're paying them gets a whole lot easier. I think so many dentists lean on that. Well, I'm paying you to do this, so just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to communicate things back to the, we're doing this for the patient. This is healthcare. Trying to communicate all that back, I think helps a lot. I also think it's important to be realistic though. Like when I was at Aspen, sometimes they were trying to push dental assistants to these extreme work volumes. And I'm like, no one can keep up with that. Let's be realistic here. So I think if you keep it a manageable work volume, I'm not saying go super easy, but keep it manageable, be realistic. If they're falling behind, step in and help. Like, I'm not afraid to go wipe down a room. I probably won't set it up because it's going to take longer. I'm not afraid to go help with steri,
I love that. I tell the assistants all the time.
Such good points.
I'm like, I tell them, I'm like, guys, let me help you. I want to flip the room or help you flip the room so we can get the next patient in. And they're like, oh no, don't worry about it. I was like, no, I am worrying about it. No, I think it's so funny because you hear the same thing. Also, before I keep going, how much money do you think that sort of approach, having read How to Win Friends and Influence People, has either saved you or helped? If you could like ballpark rough monetary value on like building a great team.
Monetary value is hard to say. So I never thought about it that way. I couldn't put a number on it, but stress,
$10,000.
I mean,
$50,000.
Yeah, I would say if we're just talking how much sleep I've probably saved, it's probably $50,000 worth of sleep.
The book is $17 on Amazon. If you want to talk about return on investment, if you are not willing to spend $17, and I mean, I've listened to the audiobook. I want to get the physical book as well. Same thing, get some notes. But if you're not willing to spend $17 to get $50,000 worth of sleep back, find a different job.
Yeah. No, really. That I haven't lost a single employee since I took over. One is now retiring medically. And I fired one dental assistant, but I did not have anyone leave. That dental assistant was actually hired like the week before I started too. So it's not even like she was a long time. She just wasn't very good. But
okay, hold on. When you say not very good, because that could mean a lot of things clinically, working with the team, because, if someone's new to dentistry, you got to teach them how to make a temp, teach them steri, have your systems, lovely buzzword, your manuals, maybe have the lead teach them. What was it about the guy or girl?
Girl.
What was it about her? How long did she last where you saw, look, she needs to go?
Hot take in dentistry. I prefer hiring underexperienced or new or unexperienced dental assistants. This particular dental assistant had been a dental assistant for like 13 years. So that's why the previous doc he knew that they needed an extra dental assistant, especially if me and him were going to be working at the same time for a while. His wife had sort of been helping out as a dental assistant. She was a dentist, but she didn't really do a whole lot clinically, so she could step in. He's like, we need someone else here. This lady has 13 years experience. She's going to be great. Hired her to help out. She was really stuck in old ways that I could not get her out of. And I don't even remember all the specific examples, but it was just like things as simple as, hey, here are the anesthetics that I want you to have set out. Every time I walked into the room, it was the wrong anesthetics. And it was just like so random. Taking x-rays, she wasn't great at that. And I'm like, if you've been doing this for 13 years and you still can't get a good x-ray, I'm not going to be able to teach you better. I tried, but nothing was changing. Just very stuck in the ways, just not very teachable. That is probably the biggest thing for me when I'm looking at a dental assistant now is who do I think wants to and is willing to learn and is teachable, and who has a good attitude and is good with patients, obviously, but that teachability is the biggest thing for me. And she just was not teachable. No matter how much I tried to teach her random things, it was just in one ear and out the other.
It's easier to teach a new dog new tricks than an old dog new tricks.
Unfortunately. And that has probably also saved me a pretty penny, in terms of hiring, is that I'm not afraid to hire somebody that's expecting a little bit less, because I'm willing to teach them. Same with hygienists. I hired a new hygienist right at a hygiene school, and it's all right. I can teach her my ways. Yeah, she's going to be a little slower in the beginning. I'm not worried about that. I hired her full time. I didn't technically need a full time hygienist yet, but going back to that, having availability. Now, if somebody walks in, even if I don't have an open room, there's an open hygiene room sometimes. We can squeeze them in there. The hygienist can act as a dental assistant quick. I really kind of try to preach that. Actually, I don't try to preach it. I think I try to lead by example of that, like, no ego. Everyone's just here to get the office running smoothly.
What are your do you have a core value and mission statement and all that?
If I pulled up our website, that mission statement's on there somewhere. I don't know it off the top of my head. I should, but it's something along the lines of like blending old-fashioned values in dentistry with new technology to deliver the highest patient experience. Honestly, core value, just try to be a good person, both in terms of managing my staff and patients. Like, put yourself in the patient's shoes, put yourself in the staff shoes. Like, going back to How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the big overarching themes in that book and employees is 99% of people, especially if you hire right. So, all right, we'll say 90% of people, but if you hire right, there's a 99% chance the person showing up wants to do a good job and they want to be a productive member of society and of your office. Your job is to help them. I very rarely come down hard on my staff with anything, because if you've had much working experience, like before dental school, I worked in a job where, everyone was afraid of the owner. He walked into the shop, you were afraid. You were so afraid to mess up all the time. You end up moving slower, more inefficient. You're not willing to point out areas where you feel like things can improve. I try to really create this environment where my staff is willing to talk to me, because they're the ones doing their job. If they see a hole, something that we're doing wrong, I want them to be open about communicating that to me. If they mess up, I want them to tell me. It's better that I find out early than it is that they try to hide it. That was something else that that assistant that I fired. She would mess something up and try to hide it, and they would just end up blowing up later. So, that's really, I don't necessarily have one core principle. It's just really trying to put myself in the patient or the team member's shoes, and how can I best address this situation? Like, if I was in their situation, how would I want it addressed?
That is it. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Patient, employee. Yeah, whatever. All right. How much more time is your fiance going to give us? I have a million questions. Like, I have this kind of like flow chart of questions from, we talked about Aspen. Now you're an owner, and then you're growing the practice. I have like all these different branches I want to get to. How much time do you have? Dr. Bessemer here with the Educated Associate. If you are a dental student or associate and you are about to sign your contract for your first job, or maybe buy into an office or switch jobs, and you want to make few extra $1,000 a year, or just make sure you're not getting locked in or screwed by any of your contracts, let us know. We would love to take a look for you, help you out, and see what we can do to make sure you are set up for success. Follow us on Instagram at The Educated Associate, or email us at theeducatedassociate@gmail.com. Our website is the same thing, theeducatedassociate.com. So let us know. We'd love to help. We're here for you.
I think she might be out on a run, so she doesn't care. I'm good for a while, however long you guys need.
I want to know, does she work at the practice? Is she doing her own thing?
She's doing her own thing. My office only has 5 operatories, so
Okay.
I have well, now technically I only have 2 full-time hygienists because one just retired, but generally I have 3 full-time hygienists, and then I'm working out of the other 2 ops. So there's just physically not enough room for another dentist right now.
Yeah.
But we also made this sort of conscious decision of, what if, worst case scenario, I go in and this practice totally blows up and it's a disaster? We like the idea of her having sort of a safe income somewhere
steady
else.
Income.
Yeah.
I got the same with my wife, so I can relate to that.
I'm gonna keep a comment to myself. Okay, so you bought the practice, right? Older, it was a golden goose, and honestly, that's awesome, right?
I mean, I had looked for 2 years too.
Right,
you know?
right. So it fell into your lap after 2 years of hard work. You had your systems, you're figuring out the staff. How have you grown the practice? And like you said, modernized it. And I'm assuming, like you said, that means the systems as well as the technology, as well as your clinical skills. Whatever you want to tackle first, honestly, by level of importance. Because the way I see it, right, and again, I want to plug Dr. D'Angelo Webster in the practice biopsy course. You're talking about missed call volume, all these metrics that I feel like these DSOs have. And I looked at them too. They kind of overwhelmed me. And what I liked about Dr. Webster and practice biopsies approach, it's like essentially 5 things. And I'm going to probably miss 1 or 2, but it's like new patients, production collections, Google reviews, overhead, and, something like that. Right. So as long as those are going in the right direction, you're doing okay. So how did you modernize and grow the practice?
I'm going to answer this question, but let's not forget to circle back to the whole like golden goose, finding the right practice. Cause I do have one other thing I want to talk about with that, but, in terms of modernizing the practice.
No. Talk about, cause this is kind of the point.
All right.
Talk about what you're passionate about.
Sure. I'll go into the golden goose first. One thing I didn't mention before, when you're hunting for a practice, don't be afraid for it to take time. But what ended up being the most valuable thing for me, and I briefly sort of mentioned it, but didn't explicitly, the most valuable thing for me was that I took the time to talk to multiple banks, build a relationship with a banker specifically. I took the time to go to showings, view practices, built relationship with multiple people in the area, in terms of brokers, so that when every time I would go view a practice, I would have a conversation with either the broker and or bankers explaining what I did and didn't like. They got to know me and what I was looking for. So when this perfect opportunity for me came out, I was notified. It wasn't just me looking. I now had a team of people looking, because you don't necessarily know what you're looking at when you first start looking for a practice, but by actually physically going to and looking at a new practice every month or 2 and seeing what I didn't like and then communicating that, they knew. It's like looking for a house and a realtor. But so many people are just look online and go, yes, no, yes, no. Even if I was kind of already a no on a practice, I went and looked at it in person. But anyway, circling back to how did I modernize the practice? Oh man, so many things. When I say this practice was old school, it was old school. I mean, like, amalgam fillings were still the predominant choice in the posterior. PFM crowns, hygiene, they did not do SRPs. That was actually probably the roughest point, is trying to build a perio protocol in an office that literally didn't understand. Yeah, they only did prophies.
How'd you do that? Just like, give me 1 minute on how you made that, because I'm living that conversion right now in an office, and
I did
painful.
a lot of staff meetings. Don't be afraid to block your schedule for at least an hour every week in the beginning to just do staff meetings, whether it's with the whole staff or a specific team, or even just a specific member of the team. I did so many staff meetings in the beginning of, hey, we implemented this change last week. Now we're going to build on that. Or, hey, we did this last week. I don't think that's actually working. We're going to backpedal. I did a lot of backpedaling in the beginning. I'm not afraid to turn a dial and then turn it back. we physically typed up what is our perio protocol? When does somebody move to SRP? When are we okay kind of watching this tooth or watching this area? When does somebody, and a lot of this is standardized already, not just by us, but just putting it in writing so that they had an easy chart. There's that classic AA, American Academy of Periodontology, like chart of like, this is periodontal disease, grade, staging, teaching all that, because some of the hygienists had never seen that chart before. Just putting it in paper and explaining what all that means and when somebody is supposed to be moved to an SRP. And then here was the tricky part, teaching them how to have a conversation with a patient that had never seen that before. And then it was also when are we going to dismiss the patient because they're just not on board? I'm big on doing things by the book. Obviously there's gray area that I'm happy to operate within, but when they're, if somebody's generalized 6mm pockets, bleeding, and they're like, no, I just want a prophy. It's like, all right, well, I can't continue to see you. I'm sorry. And that was shocking to the staff that I was willing to let patients walk. But I think, one, from a liability standpoint, that's an obvious choice. But two, how much value do those patients really bring to your practice? The patient that really fights you on something as simple as an SRP after you've taken the time to explain the need. If you just go, hey, you need a more expensive cleaning, we'll see you next time. Yeah, the patient's not going to be happy. But if you explain the need of that cleaning and how much it affects their oral health and their systemic health, and they still go, no, I just want a prophy, it's going to be the same conversation when they need a crown, or shoot, even when they need a filling sometimes. So that patient is really just taking up a patient slot in your practice that you can bring a better patient in, both in terms of value to the practice, but also in terms of less headache. Those patients are just difficult all around. I don't want them here. Whereas the office philosophies before were basically do everything you can to keep patients happy. And I kind of came in with this mindset. The staff took a little while to get on board with that. And then I started dismissing these patients that they like hated seeing every week. And they're like, wow, I don't have to see that patient again. Nice. Yeah. And it probably took the first 6 months to really get all of the staff on board with that.
Good job by you, man. That's not easy to do, I don't think, especially when you've got the staff and patients pushing against you, it sounds like, a little bit, to stick to your guns and be like, no, this is kind of the standard in our office. This is the standard of care around the country. We're going to uphold that. And I completely concur that most of those patients are the troublemakers in every front. They're showing up late. They're denying radiographs. They certainly aren't going to do the crown. So, get a better one in there is kind of been our approach. But I think with some of these older practices, that was the idea. Like, these are our babies. We don't let any of our babies walk away. We'll do, this is a dental spa. We just do what they want. If they want the cleaning, we just do the cleaning.
Yeah. And once again, there's some gray area there, but I'm always going to operate in the standard of care. It's just, once again, sleepless nights. It's not worth it to me. I don't want to stay up worrying about getting sued. So I always try to do everything possible within the standard of care. But that was the hardest part about modernizing the practice. The easy parts about modernizing the practice is the things that everyone thinks about, of just, oh yeah, we got a scanner versus using polyether impressions. Which, by the way, hot take, I had to do polyether impressions for like 3 months. Man, some days I miss it. Some days I'm fighting with that scanner, trying to get a scan for like 10 minutes. It's just not working. And I'm like, if I would have just taken this stupid impression, we'd have been done by now. So any new practice or startups out there, don't hate on the polyether impression.
Hydrophilic, right? Loves the water. And so you don't have to worry. I mean, you have to worry about blood and GCF, but just like a little saliva is actually probably good.
Yeah.
Make sure you block out undercuts. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
But no,
never done a polyether impression. Literally not even in dental school. I did a polysulfide impression. It smelled like dog poop for the 10 minutes it was in her mouth, but never polyether.
Yeah. So alternative argument though, when I bought the practice, when I bought the scanner, and I would treatment plan the crown sometimes. I would say, we do everything the same. The only difference is I take a scan instead of the big goopy impression. Sometimes that's enough to sell patients that have been holding off on a crown because they hate that impression so much. So pros and cons of both argument, but buying the CBCT, starting new like surgeries in the office, things like that. Those are what I think everyone thinks of when you say modernize. Those are easy. That's literally as easy as buying the product and teaching the staff how to use it. They're going to enjoy the new toys. The hard part is getting them up to modern standard of care. And, even things like the internet phone, that was a relatively easy thing because they didn't even have caller ID before. It was just, answering and you got to ask them and figure out who it is. Whereas now it's the internet phone, they call, automatically the patient chart opens. We had to do some training sessions with the staff on it, once again, blocking the schedule a little bit, so that I use PBN phones so that PBN staff could actually teach my office how to use the phones. And I say make the most of them. We're definitely not making the most of them yet. There's so many features on those things. But
what is that company? PBN?
Practice by numbers. Initially just used them for metric tracking, but they have a phone system that I went to because I wanted to keep everything as like together as possible. I still haven't mastered the phones. I think they're probably a little overcomplicated. There might be better options out there, but I really like the PBN metrics, so I'm sticking with them for now.
What is your software breakdown, your patient management system, all the technology? Like, how did you decide which ones you were going to go with? There are all these integrations and all that, right? We want seamless, but sometimes seamless turns into complicated. So what were your favorites? Any companies, any brokers, any representatives you want to Oh, before we go on, what's the name of your practice?
It is now Wall Street Dental Group.
Right. I saw that. I got like a Facebook notification for Wall Street. I was like, what sort of stupid dental investing platform am I not going to be a part of? I'm assuming it's on Wall Street.
On Wall Street.
What is the town? Like what's the cap?
Concord, New Hampshire.
So it's in so everyone who's listening, do you have an Instagram? Like for the practice?
For the practice, yes. I don't have a single post.
Okay.
But yes, I do
But
have
if
an
you're
Instagram.
Listening, go find Dr. Mark Pugliese. How do you say your last name?
Pugliese.
Not even close. I think I tried to record the intro before I started this. And I just realized for the 7 years that we've known each other, I've never known how to pronounce your last name.
My fiance still can't say it. You're good.
So go find Dr. Mark Pugliese on Instagram, find the practice, Instagram and Facebook, Wall Street Dental Group. That's a great name. And show him some love. And I'm sorry I'm going to say this, Mark, but it's something you signed up for, being a podcast guest. But reach out to him, send him some DMs, because I've learned a lot. And the one thing I've learned from all these conversations is these are people I wish I had in college and dental school, even as a new associate, just to pick their brains, even if, you don't become a practice owner or, whatever you end up doing in life. It's always good to know people and learn what to do. And probably more importantly, learn what not to do. But all right, now you can get back into how your office runs digitally, software, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so they were already running EagleSoft. They'd only converted like 3 years ago, so I actually had to take some time to one, learn it myself, and then two, teach some of the older staff some of the ins and outs of it, so he get a little bit more efficient with it in the rooms. And then besides that, everything else that I can think of, we're running through practice by numbers.
Okay.
Because that was a logical choice to me, rather than trying to have 6 different systems. Listen, I don't actually love the PBN phone system. I think it can be a little bit overcomplicated. I've taken time to try to like learn it, and there's still ins and outs that I don't understand. But we use it for so many things that I think it's worth it in that regard. Yeah, that's, That's really it. Now things are getting a little complicated because I got a CBCT that operates through Dexis. So now we're kind of having to combine Dexis with Eaglesoft's native radiology software. Eventually I need to get or I'd like to try the Dexis AI radiology, but my case acceptance is high enough that I don't think it's worth it right now. You can buy everything out there, but you once again looking at, is this what you need? My case acceptance is at a very high number. Last I looked, treatment plan acceptance as a whole is over 90%. Now actual so that's patient acceptance rate is like 90%. Individual acceptance rate is like 50%, but both are still well above like the national averages. And it's like, how much do I think that software is actually going to change that? I don't think enough to justify the price.
Yeah.
Can you explain those concepts? Because these are things I don't understand. And again, here's my background, right? Patient comes in, I'm just going to use round numbers. You have a $10,000 treatment plan. If they say yes to even 1 crown, that counts as
patient acceptance.
Patient acceptance, right? But they didn't accept the whole treatment plan. What are you tracking? And can you just give a very simple explanation of exactly that? If you offer 10 grand worth of treatment, they accept, 1 today, but finish it over time. Like, what do those numbers look like?
Yeah. So we hit on the big one, patient acceptance versus treatment plan acceptance. Patient acceptance is basically just, do they say, yes, I'm doing treatment with you? Yes or no? Treatment plan acceptance is more about the actual monetary value. If I treatment plan $10,000, they accept $5,000. I have a 50% treatment plan acceptance with that patient. I look at other numbers too. Just looking at what is the average treatment plan that I present per patient, not with the mindset of, oh, I need to, if I'm only treatment planning $1,000 per patient, next month I'm going to try to treatment plan $1,200. I'm always just going to treatment plan whatever I see in the mouth. But if I know that I only treatment plan 1,000, or if I know that my treatment plan dollars is going down, all right, I need more new patients that month. I need to start hitting the marketing harder. I look at things like fluoride percentage for my hygienists. If one hygienist is hitting 80% fluoride rate and the other's hitting 20, well, what's the 80% doing that the 20% hygienist isn't doing? I'm looking at, is there a difference in perio percentages between these two hygienists? Is one treatment planning periodontal treatment a lot more than the other? Maybe the one that's treatment planning more is actually being a little too aggressive for my liking, or maybe the other one isn't being aggressive enough.
How are you tracking the specific numbers though? Like aside from the treatment plan, whatever you have treatment plan, how is your PBN doing that? Or like,
it's
there's a ton of nuance
PBN.
to that. Okay.
It's all on PBN. If I go away from this screen. All right. Yeah. Can you guys still see me? It didn't like delete me out.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm just going to pull up my, my practice by numbers page just to see if there's some other like metrics that I'm normally looking at that I'm forgetting. But honestly,
I've never seen how anyone does this within the system. I've seen treatment plan and then the patient acceptance like briefly through Panel, I think. But I don't know how you would, because it's such a graded question over time. Like, not many people do the 10 crowns next week. I mean, there's a handful that do, but most people spread that out over at least a year, I feel like.
Yeah. I worry way more about what is my patient acceptance rate than my treatment plan acceptance rate. Because like I said, most of the time I'm in the room staging it for them saying, hey, I treatment plan, it's generally not 10 crowns. I treatment plan 3 crowns on you. I'm like, that's a big investment for most people. I'm like, we don't have to do, sometimes I will say we should get to all 3 of these as soon as possible. But most of the time, I'm like, this one can probably wait. I always say, ideal world, we do them all sooner rather than later. But if I'm guessing, we need to do this one sooner rather than later, this one can wait, up to you when you do the other one. So I worry way more about the patient acceptance because I'm more worried about, does the patient buy into me? They're not buying into your treatment plan at the end of the day. They're buying into you. Do they trust you? So I worry way more about that number than the other number, because if they're buying into you sooner or later, they're probably going to do that crown.
Yeah.
I hope sooner, because if not, and I have seen this many times already, when they say no and then they come back in 6 months and the tooth broke or it decayed out and now we need to do the extraction and implant, I feel bad for the patient. But at the same time, if the patient has still bought into you, you're the one that's going to be doing that extraction and implant.
Yep. And they just got to pay 6 times the price.
Yeah. So I do feel bad for the patient, but at least I was upfront and honest with them from the beginning of, we should do this.
I think it's a win for you almost more, because they're like, wow, that guy like basically predicted my future. And next time I'm going to do all 3, because I ain't buying this 6 times more expensive thing again. At least that's been kind of my experience. While you're pulling that up, I got to know, Steelers jersey. You a Steelers fan?
Unfortunately, right now, it's a tough time to be a Steelers fan.
I'm a Broncos fan, but so are you like who you got on? I'm always curious. What player?
I got my TJ Watt jersey on.
Okay. He's a dog.
Yeah, big. I was a huge fan of him right from the beginning. Like, some of my college buddies, somewhere there's a video of me going crazy when they drafted him
on draft night.
And that's worked out well for us ever since.
100%.
There was like a 3-month span where Mark would just either text or send me Instagram reels about how TJ Watt is the most underrated player. He's like the best pass rusher in the league. And just like every day, it's like, hey, I told you, true pass rate, sack pass rate, like all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, Mark.
That's
like,
me with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always like, look at Nicola's the best. This is what he did. No one else can do that. And no, I agree. TJ is definitely top 3 in my mind.
I mean, he's dropping off now. He's a speed rusher. You know, I knew with a speed rusher, you get maybe 8 years out of their high production period before they start to drop off. But yeah, so I have up in front of me.
Can you share would you be willing to share your screen? I could probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. All right, can you see the numbers now?
You got it.
All right, so I don't even know.
Oh my God, you only produce that much?
Yeah, man. Good for
so,
you.
I mean, you can see a very like intimate thing of like what I'm looking at. This is just a really good view of, so shared practice, you can dig into so much more. This is kind of what Shared Practices recommends. So they built this homepage, but you can view current production, what you're projected at, what is next month currently projected at. You can view collections. You can view, so these are kind of the numbers that I care about. What's my treatment plan acceptance? What's my patient acceptance? Average treatment presented, average treatment accepted, diagnosis percentage, restoration to crown. This is a very high number. I do pay attention to it. Last week was a weird week where like literally all of my crown patients canceled for like illness, or one of them had heart surgery that got emergency scheduled, like just random things. There used to be a way where you could like open this and compare it to the average PBN user. I'm not sure why they got rid of that. But average production per hour, like it's just
probably because comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah, probably. But you know, you can even look at these in terms of what percentage or whatnot. These pie charts show you like this is implant services. I've presented this number in implants. And then actually see what's accepted. Like you can dig so far into all of these, looking at fluoride percentages. These are big ones, like the pre-appointment rate for hygiene. What's the recall percentage? Here you can see, all right, new patients seen versus entered. Is that number going up or down? Retention rates. I pull this web page up at the same time that I log in to my practice software every single day, and I just do a quick run through of it.
How much does this cost you a month, or annual subscription, whatever it is?
So I'll get off of that because honestly, you could dig into just so many little things. But are we back to the normal screen?
Yep,
you're good.
that is actually included. I use shared practice coaching for the first year. I did that. I'm probably not going to continue, not because it's not a great service. Me coming from the background that I did, I think I was over prepared for ownership the first year, which is by no means a bad thing. But I think I got less out of that than probably most people. But that was included, so I couldn't tell you what the actual cost is. But I don't think it's anything crazy expensive. I want to say it's probably under $500 a month. It's probably like $200 or $300 a month.
Yeah, totally manageable as a practice owner. That was cool, man.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you doing another super honest take. And I feel like that's an area where a lot of people only post their hyperinflated great months or some sort of screenshot of an area that they crushed it, and to just pull that up raw point and shoot data. That was awesome, man. So really appreciate the honesty there.
Yeah, and
I
I
probably
mean,
only have a couple more. Sorry to.
oh
My
no,
son
you're good. I was going to
he's
say,
starting to, yeah,
be ready
flare
to
up
go.
a
But
tiny bit.
yeah, for any practice owner out there, don't worry about like comparing yourself to like, I don't know if those numbers are considered good or bad. I don't worry about comparing myself to anyone else. It's really just like, man, if you're an owner, just enjoy the journey, because you can always find areas that you want to improve. Literally, there's never going to, for the next 30 years, there's always going to be something else I want to improve. And if you're just like, oh, things will be better when I get there, that's just not how it operates. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy doing the dentistry as much as you can. Enjoy interactions with your staff, your patients. Enjoy building something.
The Arrival Fallacy.
Yeah. I want to transition to something, taking a step back, a little bigger picture, which is longevity in this. I mean, Mark, we're all young. Young's a mindset, right? Age is just a number. Tony, you are 33, 34?
34.
34, Mark, you are
31.
31. And I'm turning the big 30 in about 2 months here. So I feel like, I'm going to land the plane. Like I always tell Tony, land the plane. Me and Mark, I think we bonded over bodybuilding at first. If you could even call it coaching, I told Mark he was doing a great job and just gave him my stupid little pieces of advice. But oh my God, Mark, you remember? I squatted 315 for the first time. That was with you. It was like a crunch in New York. Yeah. But the thing about bodybuilding is it's small progressions over time that compound and add up, right? Whether it's scale weight, reps on the bar, weight on the bar, all that fun stuff. And like you just said, it seems like practice ownership and most things in life, little changes, little habits, or consistency over time leading to big changes. But the key is over a long period of time, right? So Mark, do you mind just kind of telling us about a little bit of your non-dental life, as much as you want to get into your relationship, or kind of, I think intrinsically, good owners have that desire to get better at something, and it doesn't always have to be the practice at all times. Like when we talked to the sports psychologist, performance psychologist, he was talking like, hey, there are seasons where like it's grind time for my business, and you take a step back of being the best boyfriend. You are a good boyfriend, but maybe not the best, right? And then, or husband, whatever. And then you get a lot of practice success, and you realize that, look, your relationship did suffer a little bit, right? But if you have the right partner, and then Money Meets Medicine, Jimmy Turner was talking about how his first priority is his marriage, right? His belief and his marriage. And that makes it unshakable, because then that probably feeds into his business, right? And financial growth and all that. So again, huge open-ended question, whether it's about your relationships, your hobbies, what is your mental approach to growing the practice, but being able to have an appropriate, which I think is a good word, work recreation balance. I don't like calling it work and life, because I feel like for these people, any listeners that want to be practice owners, you're not like your work and this journey is not separate from your life. It is your life, right? But we have work and we have recreation. So take it away, Mark. Just how do you approach it? What has helped you keep the longevity? And hopefully you will one day be the 30, 40 year practice owner, right?
Yeah, I'll separate this into two questions. One, how just dentistry in general. I think people coming out of dental school, maybe not so much have this like rose tinted glasses, but because nowadays you just see all the negatives online. Dude,
Mhm.
go talk to I'm gonna be really blunt about this. Go touch grass. Go talk to anybody. Nobody loves every single aspect about their job.
Mhm.
Oh well, it's called a job, but find ways to enjoy it. If you really wake up and you dread going to work every single day, take a step back. Is that an office problem or is that a you problem? Like, is if there's things that you can change it. My goal is to be, like you said, a 30, 40 year practice owner. Shoot, man, I joke with people that I might still be doing this when I'm 70, not because I have to, but I honestly love doing dentistry. I've found ways to be efficient with procedures so that they're not stressful. Like I see so many things online of people stressing over class twos. I wish I could just go in and see what they're doing because most class twos take me 15 minutes, and that's not a brag. It's I've just found systems and tools that make it really easy. I enjoy doing dentistry. I enjoy helping patients out, getting them out of pain. Maybe it won't always be like that, but I hope it will. To me, this profession is a hobby as much as it is a profession. So I think that's really important because if you have that mindset of, no, I'm not going to love every aspect of the day, but try to find joy in what you do, try to remember that you're helping people, both in terms of patients and you're doing something pretty cool about, at least as an owner, but to a lesser degree, an associate, you're providing a job for people, you're helping them make a living. Um, I don't know. I think all that's pretty cool. But in terms of, I'll call it the work-life balance. I know we're avoiding that term in terms of that, I think, yeah, you nailed it. You have seasons. That when I was like getting ready to buy the practice and right after like the first probably 3 months after ownership were stressful. Talk about gray hairs. I never had gray hairs. I had gray hairs popping up left and right in that time. Like when I
Mhm.
first bought the practice, I was showing up at 7 in the morning and I wasn't leaving till 7 or 8 at night because I was either cleaning out things or just like going through charts or just, I don't even know what I was doing, just reorganizing the office, talking to lawyers, trying to get like the DBA through. Just there were so many little things. I can't tell you how long it took me to like transfer over all the utilities into my name. Like just all these
Mhm.
little things that you don't think about that no matter how many podcasts you listen to and things you think you're prepared for in ownership, you just don't realize how many little things will add up. Hobbies, life, gym, all that took a real backseat. Um, and I was fine with that. It was a conscious decision of this is what I need to do right now. My fiance, bless her, was extremely supportive through all of that time. Um, but you really already nailed it, Alex. It's in phases. Now that the practice is really running the way I want it to run, it's like, all right, I got to get back into fitness just because that's something that's important to me. So I've kind of made this decision. I'm trying it out. This is relatively new, where every day where I get home, I do something active until 7 o'clock. So if I get home at 6:30, all right, I'm doing something for a half an hour. If I get home at 5 that day because I had a patient cancel or whatever, all right, I got extra time in the gym. Great. Or I'm going for a long walk with my fiance.
Mhm.
Just things like that. I always try to prioritize the relationship to some degree. If I had a really busy week, all right, we're doing a date night. Um, that's always a priority. And I think that's important. You know, they say the most important financial decision of your life is who you choose to marry. But that's only part of it. You can choose the right person, but if you're the wrong person to that person, well, it's not going to work out. So prioritize being present in your relationship as much as possible. But, um, in terms of the hobbies, just choose when is it the right time to focus on that hobby. And being a dentist, the decision of like travel and whatnot becomes a little more complicated because taking a day off, obviously you're paying for the trip, but taking the day off costs significantly more to you than probably that trip costs. It's a different math that Richard Lowe recently posted on his Instagram, but you got to be willing to take that hit to let some of that stress off.
That's future guest Richard Lowe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have him lined up, I think, coming up this week.
Nice.
I mean, that's awesome. Honestly, this conversation was everything and more I wanted to hear. I feel like even as an associate, I feel like every crown prep or extraction I do, like I'm gonna have a stroke. Like it's got to be like absolutely perfect, dude. Seriously, I'm in there and I'm like, well, first of all, because I have a prosthodontist breathing down my neck.
That's next.
She doesn't actually like her clinical work's amazing and it's a good person to learn from, but like that's the standard we hold ourselves to. And I'm not gonna get into the perfectionist nonsense we all talk about. Like we get it. Oh, I'm a dentist because I'm a perfectionist. Yeah, all right, buddy. Like, cool it, you know. But I think Mark, your current approach of just enjoy the process and finding joy, right? And that. So I personally, and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, like I did not get into dentistry to help people and the patient relationships. Like I remember I worked in an emergency and extraction clinic essentially, and I was like, this is awesome. Like I get to see them, I get to get them out of pain, and I never have to see them again.
Dude, you're still helping people.
Right. But it's like, you know, the relationship, and then you see them, and then you see them for 20 years and you see their kids. That is wonderful. Not my main source of joy, to put it nicely, but I am realizing that even though I came into the profession loving the clinical, the theory, the textbooks, that I've realized actually carries me further because I do enjoy it, right? When you have a great experience, get someone out of pain, or gosh, even a crown that they love. So I think that's a very healthy reminder from someone who is doing it and has just started. You're about a year into practice ownership at this point.
End of the month is 1 full year.
Wow. I mean, congratulations. Seriously, I mean, you're another sign that it's possible, even in what people think is a DSO loaded, dominated world right now. Maybe that's just a necessary step for some people. And I love how much you took away from your Aspen experience, not just clinically, but you saw what it was like to run a high volume office. And so I feel like if people go from a low volume to a high volume office, that jump might be a little more hectic than, hey, we just got to, you know, make things a little more efficient. And if you ever wanted to get higher volume, open a second office, make it PPO and, you know, more patients and all that fun stuff, you have the skills now to do that, right? No, I mean, this was everything I wanted to learn. I was actually hoping, like you said, about getting the utilities in your name and switching that over. Like, if you have it written down somewhere, but like all these small little things that you think people might not think of, I would love to make an Instagram post of like Mark's things to think about on the Educated Associate, like Instagram, of just like, hey, there's always going to be something you haven't thought of, and that's okay. Like the government's not going to come and shut you down because for a week or a month, like the utilities were under someone's name, or like you didn't replace your fire extinguisher immediately, you know, like, yeah, obviously get to it, but like expect these things to come up and take it as a challenge. Take it at, all right, Tony, is your kid waking up?
He's getting hangry over here.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dr. Tony, for spending a wonderful Sunday morning with me. And seriously, Mark, this was awesome. Like, yeah. I want to have you again in a year. See what you've grown, and this is awesome. And cheers to you on your wedding. When's the wedding date?
Yeah.
October 2027. That was one of those things that we put on the back burner between a move, and we actually bought a house and everything else. So we put the wedding on the back burner.
Hey, that's all right. You got all those things moving in the right direction. Sounds like she's on board with everything with you. So Yeah, like Alex said, I learned a lot. I think you had a lot of tremendous insights, great perspectives, and I think you gave people from somebody in dental school all the way up to somebody that already owns a practice a lot of insights that they can glean and use to motivate themselves or use to benefit their lives. And it's hard for somebody to hit on all those avenues. So really appreciated those insights.
And hopefully I provided something of use. But yeah, to any dentists out there, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, either the Wall Street Dental Group, or of course my last name isn't in there, but it's just PUGLIESE_DMD at that's my Instagram. Feel free to hit me up, and I'm happy to like answer questions about my journey or anything else.
Awesome. And like Tony's kid, stay hungry, everyone. Enjoy.
Get hungry. Can't see him.
Dr. Bessemer here, closing out this 2-part interview with my dear friend, Dr. Mark Pugliese. We just want to put out content, information that you guys enjoy, that you learn from, something you can take home that makes your life just that little bit better, whether it's dental or not. So once again, thank you guys for listening. Leave us a rating, a review, a subscribe, a share, whatever you can, if you really did enjoy this episode. Have a good one.